Walking a path along the roots of Pikes Peak, you take a fork in the road toward the Anselm Society Digital Pub. Inside is a raucous conversation on the arts, faith, and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, that movie and that book. Oh my gosh. In the corner table by the fire are three people. One of them is trying to find her hanky. Where is her hanky? That's me, your co-host, Mandy Hauk. Welcome to Believe to See, a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. Here at Believe to See, we explore the relationship between faith, art, and storytelling. Our goal is to connect the great story, the great stories, and our own stories so that we can better understand what it means to live with a Christian imagination. So tonight, if you can't tell, we are talking about sad art. Anyone who has seen or read The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, bless you. You understand why I needed my hanky. So to talk with me about this are my favorite co-hosts of all my co-hosts, which are my two co-hosts. We have Matthew Malama. How are you doing, Matthew?
I am doing okay. I can't wait to just feel really sad.
Yeah. You know, I have to ask you, I keep calling you Matthew because at one point you told me you were going to be Matthew and not Matt. Mm-hmm. But then everyone else still calls you Matt. So then I sound like the grandma who's calling you Matthew like I'm scolding you.
No, you're doing the correct thing.
I'm doing the correct thing.
The way I have it set up is in my daily life, like the Matt Mellema is like Bruce Wayne. Matthew Mellema is Batman. So
okay.
I'm doing podcasts or I have my name on like an article or something.
Okay, so I'm
Matthew.
So I'm just acknowledging your superpowers.
In this context, I have the Batman mask on.
So I'm acknowledging your superpower. Although Batman doesn't have superpowers, which is what makes him so super. Anyway, that is another podcast. Christina, who is always Christina, so she makes it easy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited. I'm good.
If I were to call you like Chris or Chrissy,
oh no, she's not a Chris.
Go over.
Well, calling me Chris, I would just refuse to answer because
I
just
how about Tina?
That's a nerd.
Oh,
I do not like Tina. I go to Christina, Christine, or Christiana.
Good.
That's my
don't call Bethany
there.
Beth. Do not call
Tina.
Bethany
I don't
Beth.
love, but I don't. There's a couple reasons why, and one of them was I had a boss who hated me named Tina. So I think that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was. I also destroyed her car by accident. So, in high school, that was embarrassing.
We went really far afield.
We did go far afield.
You're right. We were talking about
I
sad
started
books.
it.
Yeah.
I think, are we just trying to avoid the actual topic?
Probably.
So I asked you guys in the green room, you guys haven't read or seen The Boy in the Striped Pajamas?
No.
Of course not.
I haven't.
I don't hate myself that much.
Have you heard it mentioned? Like whenever anyone talks about what's the saddest movie, Boy in the Striped Pajamas, hands down.
Nope, I've never even heard of it.
It's lovely. I haven't read it. I saw it. But it's set in wartime, and it's these little boys who become friends. One is on the free side of the fence, and the other one is a child Jewish prisoner, and they become friends. And
I'm already being all sad here.
Where's my hanky? Okay, well, so I invited my friends here to talk about sad art because I am well known in my circles for loving books that wreck me. I don't know why. And I might have mentioned it on the podcast before, but there are people that know me outside Anselm and book friends that they'll notice that I'm talking about a book and then they'll read it. And this has happened to me a handful of times, that it's someone from church or something like that. And then they'll come up to me like with their eyes, they're just like shocked at me. And they're like, why did you like that book?
Why did you do this to me?
And I'm like, oh, sorry, you just need to know that about me. 9 times out of 10, 9.8 times out of 10. If I really love a book, it's a sad book. So what do you guys think about sad books and sad art?
Well, first off, you were going to lend me, Danielle, a book that you like.
Yes.
Is this going to wreck her emotionally?
No, that is an exception. No, breathing lessons, which now that makes 3 times I have talked about it.
0.8%.
It's a 0.2.
Oh, I thought you said 9.2, but it's 9.8 times. No, you might be right on that one.
I don't know. We are not math people.
It's a decimal point.
It's a decimal point. It's rare.
It's rare.
So this was kind of, I think it's interesting, just delving into my own psyche here.
Oh, let's
because
do
when
it.
you first gave this prompt, I was like, I don't like sad books. I don't like sad movies. Like, so what am I going to say other than I'm again it. But then I started looking at it, and it's just scouring, just like scanning the internet for like what are some like famous sad books, and I was like, oh, I've read that one and I liked it. I read that one and I liked it. I read that one and I liked it. So it's like maybe I do like them, but I feel like we need to. There's subcategories of sadness, right?
Right. Oh,
Certain
definitely.
subcategories I'm just out on. It's like, no, why would I even consider that? But others I really like and find very poignant and important.
Poignant is the thing.
So-
I mean, Piranesi is sad.
Kinda.
Right.
There's sad elements. to
I
it.
cried.
I mean, I cried too. I don't know if it's because it was sad though.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's what we need to do. I'd like to sort of chop sadness into different categories and figure out which ones I like and which ones I don't like.
That's violent.
Well,
just sort of, we sort of pin it wriggling on the wall and we dissect it.
Oh my!
Wow.
That'll help, right?
All right, Frankenstein.
We tie
Dr.
up the books
Frankenstein.
and we beat them with hoses, right?
Okay, so
That's
this
what
is
Billy Collins wants to
Stephen
do.
King. Oh, okay, that's true.
Where
That is
even
Billy.
are we?
That's
Anyway.
Billy Collins with the poem,
Thank
right?
you.
There you go.
Anyway, Christina, what do you feel about sad stories?
No, that's it's well, I was going to comment on your point because as I was thinking about this as well, I was thinking like there are categories of sad, and then there are like just I don't know if pointless sad is not the right word, but I think of a lot of like 20th century fiction can sometimes be just very much like blah, what's the point of life? And so I consider that the kind of stuff I just don't touch generally. It's just I come away feeling super heavy and depressed, and it just stays with me for days, if not weeks. But there's also levels of sad that it has some kind of not even redemptive quality, but just a story of beauty that has lots of sad elements in it, and I will absolutely go to those. If it's a book that's sad all the way through and ends sad, I might encounter it and appreciate it and never go to it again.
Right. Like, spoiler alert,
Mostly-
the death of Ivan Ilyich does end with him dying. I don't know if you know that.
Oh my gosh, I cannot handle, no.
But I mean, it's Russian lit, so what are you going to expect?
Well, see, there you go.
Tolstoy's.
Did you guys ever see
you got
that?
some-
Did you guys ever see that meme? Sorry, Christine, you're about to say something important, and I'm saying, you ever see this meme? But it's 4 pictures, right? One of them's like an American's like, I will die for freedom.
Yes.
Then the British guy's like, I will die for honor. Then the French guy, I will die for love. And then the Russian, I will die.
Yes. I have seen that.
I thought he was going to say, I will die for happiness, because I was like, they're so
I
sad
will
when
die.
they're for
Do you remember what you
all
were
the
going to
reasons.
say?
I
For the
think
meme?
yes,
Okay.
I was. Because the other thing I was considering was the thing I will watch is sad stories if they're historical, like if it's true, if they're true.
That's a good.
Yeah, and so for
Marker.
me, it's very
Yeah.
different. Like I don't know. Well, I'm thinking of like the Diary of Anne Frank, right?
Right.
That is like nothing about those kinds of movies are happy, like
Right.
but they're true, and if they're produced well, or even a book or whatever. But if they're produced well, like that's something you want to experience and encounter and be anyway. Yeah.
You know what? That actually made me realize, because when you read Diary of Anne Frank, even like she still like is looking for beauty and looking for hope, which makes the act of reading the diary that much harder and more tragic.
Right.
But that is the glimmer, and that's sort of what you're. That's the beauty of that book and other books like it is. Maybe that's the power of some sad books, is to see the characters retaining their humanity,
Yes.
and not letting themselves become. I think the word that I was thinking of when you were talking about books that are like stuck there was despair. So if you like leave a book feeling despair,
Yep.
because that's like the absence of all hope, or
Yeah.
and you lose sight of like what makes humanity good.
Yes.
and what makes us persevere. So if there's no sense of any of that,
yeah, unless it's like a political and social cultural commentary, I'm out.
right.
Even then, I'm probably out.
Yeah, and I will say I don't like every sad book I've ever read. I will say that. But I do gravitate toward books that make me feel deeply. And typically that's, so like Cold Mountain, I did not like Cold Mountain. It gave me that sense of despair. That's Charles Fraser. Also, an aside, I just feel like he needed an editor. Because do you ever read something where you're like, dude, you're just sort of hanging out on this point for far too long. Let's move along.
Yeah.
So, but who am I? Unpublished Mandy doesn't like Charles Fraser. Whatever. Anyway. But yeah, Cold Mountain had that kind of despairing feeling to me.
Sure.
So,
sure.
If any listeners disagree, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an interesting thought, though, because when I was thinking of, Corrie ten Boom in The Hiding Place, and
yes,
so good. But I was also thinking of the movie because considered like art in general, like Schindler's List. Like I was realizing I have not watched that movie, and I don't want to watch that movie because I've just heard how horrific it is.
I saw it once, and I'm sad.
Yeah, see, that's what
Peter
I
and I only watched it like last year.
Did you really?
And you know what's funny?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that Ray Fiennes has won the Oscar, but he hasn't because everyone assumes he won that
because
year.
it was such a good movie.
Because he was nominated that year. But Tommy Jones beat him for The Fugitive that year, which he was really
That was
good.
also fantastic.
But
I was
anyway.
going to say, but I listened to that really famous song from Schindler's List.
Oh, yes.
The violin. And so, like, I was thinking about, like, encountering art, where is my line? It's like, well, I definitely listened to that song. That's really sad, and I do it on purpose. I listen to this sad song on purpose, but I can't bring myself to watch the song, or the story from which it was born.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I didn't even think of that, but we can
Right?
delve into that. Like, are there certain sad things, like maybe you don't read sad books, but you're all in on sad music.
Right,
Or,
right.
And so each of us has a different thing that resonates with us. What do you think, Matt? Back when you had your frosted tips and girls, what was that girl? Angie Hansen.
Yeah.
So when things didn't work out, assuming they didn't because you're married to the beautiful Danielle, did you like to listen to like breakup songs when you were sad?
So I have been trying to while you guys have been talking, I've been like typing my thoughts onto my little iPad here.
Yes, I saw
trying to
you.
figure out what's
Tippity-tap.
going on. Did you see me scrunching my face in concentration?
I was trying not to look because it would make me too curious.
I'm trying to figure out what the difference is between sad stories that I like and sad stories I dislike.
Oh, interesting.
So I can't. I've tried to like categorize them. Like I was like, okay. So there's the ones that are I call them like the tearjerker ones.
Right.
So like that TV show like This Is Us. It's like,
oh yes.
like no, I have no desire to see that.
So good.
So I just thought I was like, no, of course not. But then there's like the ones that I like. Okay. So let me go to this list again. This is just a list that I found of like sad stories with literary merit, right? Like Atonement by Ian McEwan. I love that book so much.
Yeah.
It's so sad. Never Let Me Go by Ishiguro.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
I love that.
Did you read it and see it?
I haven't seen the movie.
But you love Keira Knightley.
I do. You
Gotta see it. And
I
it's
should.
baby Andrew Garfield. He's a little baby.
Oh goodness.
The book is decent. The book is bad. I mean, the movie's decent.
Okay, I was gonna say
the movie's decent. The book is amazing.
And we'll get to this more in the next episode, but like Great Gatsby, it's my favorite book, and it's super sad. Why do I like those?
It is sad and
but
despairing.
It is not despairing.
Anyway, we'll get on that in our next episode.
But I'm trying to figure out, but is it basically, I like good sad stories, I dislike bad sad stories? That's really profound, Matt. But
but right away at the beginning you said literary merit, and so that sounds like that's what you mean, is it has to have literary merit. But then you need to break that.
That's basically me saying I like good stories, I dislike bad stories. Like, cool. But then I'm trying to think what topics appealed to me. So going back in time to like teenage and early 20s, Matt, I loved breakup songs. I loved the songs where the guy didn't get the girl.
Wait, you did? Oh, that's
I
funny.
loved them.
Oh,
I
that's
feel like
awesome.
we're psychoanalyzing Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew, thank you.
Oh wait, that actually reminds me. So you know how on Spotify Wrapped, if you have listened to a specific artist for like a lot, then you get a little video from them and they like thank you for listening to them.
I forgot
So
about that.
last year, 2024 was a little rough on Mandy. So Mandy listened to a lot of Noah Kahan. A lot of Noah Kahan. And if you haven't listened to him, just be aware there are curse words in some of the songs. But anyway, when I got his video, it was hilarious because he's like, hey, so apparently you listened to me a lot last year, so I really hope you're okay. And then the same thing happened with another artist I love, Joy Lotakun. She said the same thing.
Oh, that's really funny.
So, yeah.
Oh, I really like that, actually. That's perfect for this podcast.
But I was like, actually, Noah, I was not okay, but I am now, and thank you. But anyway.
Dude, that's like so interesting. That's like a whole, that's a whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, particularly his album Stick Season, when he wrote it, you can tell he was depressed.
Like he was in a bad place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think he wrote it in 2020. So, hey.
But what I mean is like, it's interesting that like they as artists know it's depressing enough that they check in on their listeners. I don't.
Yeah. He said it kind of funny, but
it's, of course, but
it's
sad
true
art
though.
and yeah. Anyway,
so you liked breakup songs, I was going to name one, but it's 10 years before your time. Never mind.
Try it. I'm a bit, well, basically,
Richard Marx wrote all the best. I will be right here waiting for you. I'm not.
Wherever you go.
Yes. Whatever you do, I will be. Don't sing.
It brings
Christine,
up a very specific memory. But,
oh, me too. I was in my car crying because I didn't want to go in the house and have my parents see me crying because they would ask me what was wrong.
But yes, I mean, does this just mean that as a teenager / early 20s, when all of us are feeling things very strongly, I was what one may say unlucky in love?
Yeah.
Perhaps.
And I was not right there waiting for you, Alan. You missed your chance.
That's right. It's his loss. You know what? It is his loss.
Totally.
But,
and my gain, because my cutie over there reading his book. Hi, Peter. Go ahead.
But then I still like those sort of stories where like the guy tries his darndest and doesn't get the girl. I still that's like my favorite sad story.
Yeah.
Is it just because it makes me feel nostalgic back to when I felt things? Yeah, probably. But then there's like the ones where it's like the sad ones because like, oh, your loved one died. I don't like those. Or like the old people sad ones where it's like the old person's looking back on their life and they're sad because they're old and they're about to die and all their friends are dead. It's like, no,
what
thanks.
story
That's okay.
is like that?
All of the stories.
No.
So what other genres are there of sad things? Then there's like the person with the very hard life and horrible things happen to them. I mean,
Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver.
There you go.
Don't read that one if you don't want. Yeah. Oh,
basically a whole bunch of war movies,
yeah, I don't like war movies, but do you know I realized why I don't like war movies? Because the monotony of color. Because they're all
brown and gray.
It's all brown and gray, and they're all like muddy, and I can't most of the time I can't tell the characters apart.
So do you not like black and white movies then?
No, that's different because that's beautiful.
See, that's
I love black and white movies. There's something that's different.
Okay.
Black and white has like pizzazz.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, but I did love 1917. 17?
I've been meaning to see that for a long time. Was it good?
Peter, was it 1917?
I think it was
13.
18.
18?
Was it the War of 1918?
No, it's okay.
The sad movie. He's over there trying to read his book. And
It's the movie that's like shot in one long shot,
I thought it was 1913.
17.
17. Okay.
You were right the first time.
Was
You
I?
said
Trust your instinct. But anyway, you like that movie.
Yes, and it makes you cry a lot.
Yeah, see, I feel like, but again, that's where a lot of it goes to, for me, is like historical fiction, because I will, not historical fiction, I'm sorry, historical events. Like I will watch really sad, like war movies if they're true stories, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like again, I won't go back, but I'm like, no, I'm down. Like I want to know. Let's do this, you know?
Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge is really good, by the way. Andrew Garfield.
I've heard so
Here
many
I am
things about
saying
it.
I don't like war movies, and then I'm mentioning war movies that I like.
It's a very famous one.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I do have a quote that I would like us to discuss. So
Yes.
This is what made me go, hey, we should do that episode, because we had talked about it a few times. But then I ran across this quote by James Baldwin. And yes, I'm just going to read it. You think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world. But then you read. It was books that taught me that the things that tormented me most were the very things that connected me with all the people who were alive, who had ever been alive.
I loved that. When I read it, I loved it so much.
What do you think of it?
Yeah.
Oh, he's putting his hand on his face.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So that actually makes a lot of sense, and especially to this one subgenre that I know I like, the unlucky in love sadness one.
Sure.
I remember in college once, I felt particularly thwarted in love. Okay, and I was just so friggin' depressed. And what I turned to was a very depressing F. Scott Fitzgerald short story called Winter Dreams.
Oh, I'm going to have to read that.
I needed that particular sad story where that particular dude loses that particular sort of girl to feel like I wasn't just alone in the cosmos in my pain.
Okay.
Me and F. Scott Fitzgerald felt the same thing there. And it was incredibly cathartic.
Oh.
Well, he did lose his first love and, well, not lose to death. But,
Right.
You know.
He lost his first and then sort of lost the second.
Yeah, that was...
Do you know my agent, my former agent, Amanda, named her daughter Zelda because she loves F. Scott Fitzgerald so much.
That's funny.
But everyone thinks she named her after the game.
Oh, that is actually really funny now. That's funny, actually. That's hilarious.
I know.
Zelda was very pretty.
Shouldn't have named his son, her son Link. That was just the thing that threw it over. But
she actually took a picture. Sorry, this is a diversion, but it's worth it. Anyone who listened to my interview with Amanda around Advent will know this already, but if you didn't, when she was pregnant with Zelda, she was on a trip to wherever. Where is Zelda Fitzgerald buried? I don't know.
Baltimore.
Oh, okay. So she was in Baltimore, and she had her husband take a picture of her next to Zelda's grave, and she wrote Zelda in utero and Zelda in groundo. Isn't that
and
funny?
You know what? The real Zelda would have thought that was hilarious.
Exactly.
That
and
was
that's
her
why
kind of humor.
yes, totally. So anyway, all that to say, so there's something about reading something to see that you are not alone.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my experience with sad art really is either to engage grief or to, again, put words to something I can't express myself. Or oftentimes, this is the beauty of art, put expression to something you didn't know you even felt.
Oh, that's true. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, is there a particular subgenre, like a particular archetype of sad stories that you're especially drawn to, or do you like the whole panoply of sad?
No, I don't. That's the thing.
No, she doesn't. I do. That's me.
Yeah,
okay.
I think because I'm so predisposed.
Except Cold Mountain.
I'm so predisposed to just depression, chronic depression. So I think for me, there's just stuff I have to kind of steer clear of.
See, that's interesting because I am too. But for me, it's like a way. But God makes us all unique. So yeah, for me, it's almost like I can put it outside of myself. Because I'm reading it and it helps me to process it.
Well, yeah, like James Baldwin is kind of right there. Yeah, his quote. Yeah,
right.
That's brilliant. I think, but it's interesting because I do have I don't know if it's the levels of engagement, because I think we've talked about this in previous pods before as well, but I will much quicker, much faster, much more readily engage with a sad song or a sad album than I will a sad book or a sad movie, which is so interesting. And so if I really, I don't know if it's because of the length.
I was about to ask.
Yeah, or if it's because there's a real. Well, see, that doesn't really apply to books, but I know for movies, there's just it's a different experience when you're watching something play out as opposed to, engaging your senses with music. And it involves words all the way, oftentimes, but I don't know. I don't know that I have necessarily an answer to that, but I do know through my habits that I do tend to listen to more sad songs than I do watch sad movies.
Right.
So I'm glad you said that, because along the same time, I was sort of thinking, okay, I think my consumption of sad art really, it does vary according to like what the medium is. Like maybe it just shows I use the mediums for like different things.
Yeah. there's that
I
too.
hardly ever watch sad movies. Like if I know a movie sad, it's just like it's a non-starter for me.
Right, I get
Like
it.
I would be really hard pressed to think of a single sad movie I've seen recently.
Okay, well,
It's
don't
just-
watch I'm Still Here.
I wasn't going to.
It's so good, though.
It's okay.
It's amazing.
For books, there are certain books that are sad that I love. There's like a select few. And honestly, if I'm going like the literary works that I read and that I think are the best, not necessarily my favorite, but the best, a lot of them are sad. A lot of the ones I just mentioned. But when it comes to music, most of these songs I listen to, not when it's like I'm in the car with people, it's like it's me. It's me alone with my thoughts and feelings. They're almost all sad.
Oh, interesting.
Even
Yeah.
today.
Even today.
Wow.
So like in the
Because,
car ride on the way over to record, were you listening to sad songs?
On the car ride on the way over, I was listening to Kill a Mockingbird at 3 times speed, but that's for the next episode.
Oh, I see. He gives it away.
But when I do listen to music, I'm not one of those people who always has like a song going. I usually, I'm a nerd, so I listen to more audiobooks and podcasts. When I do listen to music, it's almost always sad.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's just the habit I got into as a teenager. It's like songs should reflect the melancholy of 18-year-old Matt forever and ever.
It's so interesting though, because like you know, when you talk about paintings, like what is the kind of art we like? I'm sorry, visual art. What do we engage visually? Do we like sad things? Like, do we like melancholy things? Do we like, artists who are particularly melancholic in their like lives, like
Yes.
like, like
Yes,
there's
we
like,
do. Van Gogh.
I know you do.
I know.
Which is so interesting. And some of my favorite sad songs are about Van Gogh. But again, like for me,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, but that's also in the like historical category. This legit
That's true.
happened. And
That's
so,
true.
yeah. And then again, to what point is art not somewhat autobiographical in a weird way?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like you were just saying, when you were just talking about sad art, I pointed just right in the same room with us right now as a painting I was going to talk about, that by Andrew Wyeth, which is called Christina's World.
Mm-hmm.
Christina's World, Andrew Wyeth. If you're not familiar, just Google it right now. You can listen to this and Google it. You can do it, listeners.
Yeah. So
WYETH.
Yep. So one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, in the painting, if you are somewhere where you cannot Google, you have probably seen it. It's one of his most famous.
You'll probably recognize it.
There is a woman. It's you're viewing her from behind, and she is sitting in a field, reaching sort of almost like she's going to crawl, sort of up to the distant farmhouse and barn. And what a lot of people don't realize is that really is a woman named Christina, and she was a neighbor of Andrew Wyeth, and she was actually paralyzed. So she was normally confined to a wheelchair. And when you look at it, you can see it. Like her arms are very thin, and you can tell that her legs are beyond just relaxed. They're paralyzed. But so for me, it is one of my absolute favorite paintings, which is why I have it. I don't have the original. Don't come try to rob my house. That's it. That's at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And yes, I have stood in front of it and lost time and stood there crying.
I was going to say, you
It's so
cried,
good.
right? With your tissue,
Oh,
your
yeah.
hanky?
Yeah, and it's bigger. It's huge. It's bigger than my print. But there is something about her. There's like a yearning in the picture that I see. So maybe I'm wrong to call it sad, because maybe I'm going back to the thing that I was saying earlier, that maybe the key, like with Anne Frank and Corrie ten Boom, is seeing the character, the person, how they handle the grief and what they do with it. The fact that their humanity, in the core of them, there's some kind of courage or hope or belief that things could be different than they are. Maybe that's what I'm attracted to. And so that's why the sadness for me, even if it's like super sad, it's cathartic.
There's a resilience that humanity...
Resilience.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need to see modeled for us if we're ever going to endure our own
Right.
really, really difficult situations.
Yeah. And especially like, growing up, I didn't have a lot of help processing my emotions. So I just realized that. And so
I was going to say that's actually very intuitive.
I just thought of that. And so I would go into my room and read. And I think, because, God, we are made in his image, and his image is not an alone person. His image, by like who he is community. And so maybe that is how I grew up, like viewing the characters in the books as like peers. And they were like I was walking with them and bearing their burdens like they would bear mine. Like, because that's how we're designed. We're not designed to go off by ourselves.
Right.
And figure it out. And,
Well, I mean, there's a reason, you talk about, like, my sister actually just did a painting of this, which is really cool. But there's a reason, in Jesus's final hours, talking about Lent, going into Lent, he's praying with the Father, in the garden, he's communing at the hour of need, the hour of like, this is horrible.
Yeah. And it's not gentle. It's his grief is so powerful and difficult. He's bleeding.
Yeah.
From his pores.
I know. It's amazing. My sister did in her version of in her painting, she also did this sort of light coming down from sort of moon and in the Holy Spirit as a dove, like in that shaft of light.
Wow.
Yes. And so in that image, intuitively that it's a communing. In that grief. And so I think James Baldwin's quote there and your experience, Mandy, just go beautifully hand in hand with our God's like nature and his story and who we are in light of it. So
what do you think? He's sitting. He looks like Rodin's The Thinker right now.
Thank you. But something else I've been thinking is there seem to be two different types of sad stories.
Okay.
There's the sad story that basically the situation is bleak. And then there's the sad story where the main character doesn't get what they want. So, like, again, I'm just looking at this list I found. The Road by Cormac McCarthy.
Oh, Lord.
That's an incredibly bleak story, right? It's a post-apocalyptic world. Everything's ash. Everything's dust. There's gangs of cannibals roving the streets.
Spoiler.
But, I guess spoiler, the ending, it ends on kind of a note of hope, right?
Yes, which some people would be like, really? But yes.
Given the bleakness of the situation, it's about as hopeful as it can get.
Yeah, I had to not read anything for like 2 days after I finished The Road.
Yeah,
because I was so wrecked.
Up inside.
It was
so that's one type of story, like the bleakness, right?
Yeah.
And that there's lots of
the bleakness,
ones.
But the light breaks through.
Yeah, but the sadness comes from the fact that it's just a bleak situation.
Right,
and then there's the other type where the character really wants something and doesn't get it. Okay. So, Great Gatsby is an example of that. It's a lot of rich people, but they don't, main character doesn't end up getting what he wants, and that part is sad, regardless of the situation. Then there's the subcategory where it's kind of sad that the character doesn't get what he wants, but then you find out he got what he really needed.
Oh, yeah.
So the example that came to mind for this is Rocky, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where
he lost, but he got Adrian!
He's preparing for the fight. He loses the fight, but because he went the distance with Apollo Creed, he got what he really needed was the validation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It's kind of funny because I think so many people have seen that movie, but I think I tend to forget that he lost.
Well, because it almost doesn't matter,
It almost doesn't matter, yeah.
By the end of you see, once he goes the distance, it almost doesn't matter whether he wins or loses.
Did you know, by the way?
Is that considered really a sad movie, though? See, I don't know that you could really...
It's sad that he lost. Well,
I mean, it's a sports movie where the guy's getting up for a big fight, and then he loses the fight. But it's not generally considered a sad movie, even though when you describe it that way, it sounds like it should be, right?
Did you know he wrote it in 2 days? I don't know what happened to Sylvester Stallone after that. I don't know.
He was like, it's a brilliant script.
I know, but then anyway, whatever.
Well, the 80s happened.
And then he's
made some
Rambo.
commercial decisions.
Anyway, whatever. So
Rocky 3 and Rocky 4 masterpieces.
Okay, that's another podcast. No. Anyway. Moving on.
Is this distinction I just made between the bleak the bleak situation of the characters versus the character doesn't get what they want. Is that meaningful, or do you think that's just sort of, yeah, that shirt's blue, that shirt's green, they're different?
I feel like I would be more drawn to the bleak one. What does that say about me?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a strong enough distinction for me. Personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I almost never go to the bleak situations. Like, I think I told you, Mandy.
But okay, here's my question for that, Matt, is does the bleak situation run all the way through? Because if so, that kind of makes me think of my modern 20th century literature where I will not go to it because it's bleak all the way through.
I mean, it almost doesn't matter in some cases. Like, there's some times where I basically need to feel like I just finished reading Blood Meridian, another Cormac McCarthy book.
Yeah.
Right. So super violent, super bleak, super grim. I am glad I read it, but every time before I started reading it, I felt like I was psyching myself into diving into a really cold pool. It's like, here we go.
Yeah.
And it was worthwhile, but I didn't enjoy it. And that's how it is with a lot of those books.
But did it end redemptively or not?
Nah.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It was a meditation on the darkness of the human soul. It was important, but not necessarily uplifting.
I think there are a lot of books from the 80s and stuff that were very bleak, and I feel like really dark, and I feel like some of that was just because the 80s were so ridiculous that artists were mad and they were trying to make something mean something. I don't know. That was just off the cuff. Don't this is not a scholarly endeavor here. So, but another book. So The Road is one, but another one. Have you read Room? It was also made into a movie.
No, I've heard you talk about Room. I've never read it, and based on your descriptions,
don't read it.
I'm out.
I love it. So when I think of the two books that have wrecked me the most, when I think of books that have wrecked me the most, those two are way at the top. Both of those are books that I couldn't read anything else for 2 days. But I will say Room has that element that I was talking about before, because the premise is there is a young woman who was kidnapped and she's held in the shed in the back of her kidnapper's house. And she's been there for at least 6 years because her son is 5 and he was conceived in her captivity.
Oh my gosh.
So this is what Mandy does in her leisure time.
This is what, So the book it's written from the 5-year-old's perspective.
Oh gosh, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
But here's the beauty of the book is she has convinced him. He has no idea that they're captive, or he has no idea there's anything outside. And so the beauty to me of that book is the strength of the mother in all of her despair and this situation that she's in, which you, the reader, know. You get it. And so this little boy is saying these things and you understand what is happening. They play a game every Wednesday, and it's when the guy goes somewhere and their game is scream at the window. And so what's going on, but this mother, the strength and creativity of this mother to have her child as best she can have a happy, quote unquote, normal life. And then spoiler, she ends up escaping. And so then the whole second half of the book is the boy, trying to figure out what, the world is not what he thought it was, because he thought the room, that's why it's called Room. He thought Room was the world. But the reason to me it's beautiful is because the story is about the mother. And the cool thing is the movie, I was like, how are they going to do the movie? Well, the movie, and it's Brie Larson, is the mom. You don't like her?
This is another conversation. Please continue.
Okay. So the way the movie is not as good as the book, because they almost never are, but it's from her perspective. So it's really, it just naturally ends up being from her perspective because the child is little kid. But anyway, all that to say, that goes back to as absolutely devastating as the circumstances are until they escape. But then, they have to adjust to escaping. So there's still sadness. it's her resilience and the humanity and all the things that she does to try to love, the fierceness of her love for this child, who, by the way, the circumstances, the reason he exists are horrible.
Right.
But she loves him so fiercely. And,
of course.
and it's just the overcoming aspect of it, I think, is what makes the sadness. It kind of tears you in two.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I love being ravaged in two pieces.
And I just gave so many spoilers. I'm sorry. But
yeah.
I don't know why anyone would keep reading if they didn't know they eventually escape. So
so there you go. You did our listeners a favor.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Are there other ways that art affects you? Because I was thinking about when you were talking about listening to music in different circumstances. I use music to like help me feel the way I need to feel. You know, like I'll put in my AirPods, whatever they're called, when I'm doing housework, and I'll put in like just the total like dumb, just goofy music, like 80s music or whatever, anything that will get me moving and distracted. Or like if I'm working out, I have a playlist called I Like to Move It.
Yes.
And I used to have that song on it, but then it got annoying. So I took that song off. But anyway, there's certain, it's, you know, art affects us like that. And I think music is more of a physical reaction for me than some of the other arts. But
physical. Can you describe that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it actually makes me move it.
You mean like what people want to dance when they hear music like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like you have more of a physical reaction, I think, to music. Whether it's I'm listening to a breakup song, I'm lying on the floor, or if I'm listening to worship music, I'm probably sitting up straighter, or I'm bowing, depending on the type of music, type of worship music I'm listening to. I actually have, a lot of times if I'm listening to worship music, I'll like kneel and end up, prostrate, not prostate.
We all do that. I shouldn't say all, but we've all done it at least once. So
we will not edit that out. We're going to leave it in there, give you a giggle. But
I was curious because even though there's different sad art mediums, they do speak different languages, right? Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So I was just really curious on all of that and why you sort of had that difference and why you said you used music to kind of get you moving in a certain way. And yeah, I was very curious.
And I mean, I guess with reading, like if I feel like being intellectually stimulated, I'm not going to read Room. The writing is excellent. Emma Donoghue, British author. The writing is excellent, but I'm going to more likely read, Frederick Buechner or G.K. Chesterton or James Baldwin if I'm want intellectual stimulation or whatever.
I think sometimes about like the way we as modern 21st century, particularly middle class Americans, but just in general, like a lot of middle class throughout the world, really do have a lot of ability to access all kinds of different art.
Yeah.
Like kind of like what you said reminded me of it. Like, when I want to feel this way, I listen to this. If I want to like be intellectually stimulated, I read this. And, thinking back to like how people's encounter with stories would have been like those that they were told or passed down, or like those 2 books that their family owned that they would read over and over again.
That's so true.
Yeah. And so I often think like, interesting, like we sometimes can treat art like a smorgasbord, or like something like, well, I want to feel this way and I'm going to go encounter this on purpose,
Right, like we manipulate.
Right, but and I don't mean like, I'm grateful. No, I think it's an interesting. I'm so grateful for that because, again, like, and I love my Spotify where I can just be like, I'm in this mood, so I'm going to listen to this.
Oh, I know. I'm like, ooh, calm coffee house acoustic. I'm down.
Right? And I do the same thing. I'm like, I don't feel like a fiction novel right now. I'm going to do, So like we have all these choices, but it does make me think like, does that change the way that we might or might not kind of like also in our case, Matthew, would be like try to avoid certain like stories or movies or whatever because they're sad. Like, does that change the way we understand and engage with the art just because we choose not to because we don't
want to feel that
or
way?
we don't,
yeah.
I don't know.
So the one I was thinking of, the book and later the movie, Bridge to Terabithia.
Oh my goodness.
If you were to tell me the author of the book,
Right.
because it's so sad and emotionally devastated us all, that she was thrown into jail, I'd be like, good.
Oh,
She deserves it.
no!
It emotionally wrecked me, and I didn't feel like it was fair.
Okay, do you want to know when I read that book?
When?
First time I read that book, I was reading it out loud to my children.
Yeah, my sister
Did you know,
was unaware
did you know it
too.
was
No,
gonna happen?
no.
Same with my sister. She was like 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still remember. I read
Lock
The
her up.
Yearling. I read The Yearling to them. I did know what was going to happen in The Yearling.
Yeah,
I
I've never read Where the Red Fern Grows
Oh,
because I was
neither
warned
have
off
I.
by my
I don't
friends.
want. I don't want the dark.
No, thank you. Just no.
No,
Just
and
no.
I have. I read them The Hunger Games, and I still remember when I could see coming up as I was reading it. I realized Finnick was about to die, and I was like, "Wait, no!" I was more upset about Finnick dying than I was about Prim. Is that terrible? I just knew Prim. That was inevitable. I'm sad she died. Okay, people, don't worry.
You can sense where the story arc's
can-
going.
yeah,
you know,
but Finnick,
Prim
why
has
did
to
Finnick-
die for, you know.
But Finnick didn't have to die anyway. But, yeah. So definitely, we are obviously affected by the books we read and the art, and so it's just interesting to think about how we choose, what we engage with, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, again, just like the different stuff. I was like, I like sad music. I like some sad books. I dislike most sad movies. I will not watch sad TV shows. Like, I can't think of a single sad TV show that I even watch. And it could be just like, I use the different things for different purposes,
Yeah.
right? But,
Is it because it lasts too long? If it's a series, you have to like deal with the sad for too long?
I don't know.
Mhm.
I think it's the type of sad stories that draw me just are not the type that lend themselves to good television.
Okay.
Like, This Is Us, it looked like it's like, oh, all of my family members are dying or whatever.
No, you haven't watched it.
I
so you don't
had
know.
less than zero desire.
So it sounds like it's a sentimentality that you reject.
Sadness that's like latched onto sentimentality,
And manipulative.
I find very suspect.
Like, what about like A Walk to Remember?
No.
That's Nicholas
No.
Sparks. We've talked about him.
But I'm wondering, like, do you call
Yeah.
it suspect because it's manipulating your feelings, or
Yeah,
okay?
that's what I feel like it's doing.
But is it okay?
Yeah, it's almost like Nicholas Sparks was like, I'm going to write the saddest thing that I can possibly write. And here it is. This
Yeah.
teenage girl is going to die.
And when I'm in that situation, like, I feel like I'm in a contest
I don't like that.
with the artist. It's like,
Yes.
you're trying to get me emotional. Guess what? I'm
out.
I feel nothing.
Peace out.
I feel nothing. I'm so checked out now.
That's
Yeah.
so funny. I'm just like so vulnerable and susceptible to it.
I did. I watched.
True.
I watched. Okay.
I'm like, what am I doing? I can't not now.
I watched A Walk to Remember. I did not realize it was a Nicholas Sparks book. I didn't even know it was based on a book.
Sure, I didn't either when I saw it. Yeah.
Right. And I did cry. It got me. But then when I found out it was Nicholas Sparks, I was like, okay, I see. Yeah. And it's when the sadness is done like on purpose to you. Maybe that's partly, Christina, why if it's a real event that you're willing to do that. Because obviously they're not making up that Anne Frank, her life,
Right.
that's not invented just to make you feel something. That
Same with
actually
Hiding Place.
happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
A ton of those. Yeah.
So maybe it's a little bit, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but maybe it's like healthy cynicism. Like don't create this art just to control my feelings, sort of thing. Maybe.
Yes.
Yes, Matt says.
Anytime I get a whiff of that, I'm just openly hostile to it.
That's really funny. I think that's hilarious.
Oh, that is really cool. So, is there a reason to be cautious about letting our moods like direct our consumption or vice versa? Like, is there a point where maybe I've been listening to sad songs for a little too long and I should get up and wash my face?
Yes, it's a melancholic human. I can attest to that.
Yes, same. I'll be like, how? I've listened to that album straight through twice. But now I'm going to get a video greeting from Noah Khan, so I'll listen to it again. No, I'm kidding. What?
Noah Khan feels sorry for me.
Yes, he does.
But I think it goes more broadly, right? I think for any of us in our, especially consumption of like art, it's important to diversify, right?
Yeah.
If you're the sort of person who won't touch anything that's even a little sad, maybe you have a good reason for it, but maybe you should be,
Yeah, maybe you're holding yourself too apart.
Yeah, maybe going through that would actually be good for you. Maybe, not always. But or same thing if you only are into like the sad and the gritty stuff, maybe you should try something happy or funny.
At
like
least redemptive.
Yeah, or redemptive. I think getting a wide variety of things, getting the full scope of the human experience is a good thing.
And maybe ask yourself, have I talked to anyone who loves me about this thing that I'm so sad about that I'm listening to Noah Khan? Or
also good.
Yeah,
Need to do that one.
Am I using this as a way to like act like I'm processing this, but really I need to go outside. I need to call someone. I need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as with any good thing, there's a balance, I guess. And yes, I just called sad art good.
I think it really can. Yeah.
It can be.
I think it absolutely can be.
Yeah.
It can be very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, now I've made us all sad.
Also, I need to mention my before you close.
Yeah.
My childhood extremely sad movie that I refuse to watch again.
Okay.
But I'm also glad that I saw The Fox and the Hound.
Oh, yes.
Oh my!
Isn't that one of your favorites?
Friends? No.
No, that's not
It's
that.
too sad.
Wait, you haven't seen
Which
The Fox
one
and the
was
Hound?
I thinking of that you like so much?
So anytime that anything bad happens to an animal, I'm hard out.
Yeah.
I am out.
Yeah.
So Fox and the Hound, I am out.
Yeah.
It is so sad.
So when you watch, Bambi, I mean, hello.
Yeah.
I didn't like Dumbo because he was bullied. I couldn't handle Dumbo.
The first movie I ever saw in theaters was Bambi. And when Bambi's mother got shot, my parents had to take me screaming from the theater.
Oh, Matthew.
I was a sensitive child.
So Matthew, I love that. Poor Matthew. So why did you ever go back to the movies again?
I know,
You're like,
right?
last time I was in here.
So, no, I will not watch Fox and the Hound or Old Yeller.
That just gave me like a green eggs and ham vibe. I will
Marley
not
and
watch
Me,
Fox and the Hound.
I've never seen it, and I never will.
Marley and Me, no, I haven't either.
Yeah, I don't know that anyone needs to watch Old Yeller. That's just traumatizing.
So yeah, that's
Yeah,
But
Fox and the Hounds.
that's my journey. We don't need to dwell on that.
I think there is like value to the movie The Fox and the Hound, but I still don't quite understand how it's a good child's movie. I don't know.
That's like Hunchback of Notre
it's
Dame. What the
just-
heck were they thinking? I don't even know.
The music in Hunchback of Notre Dame. Oh, so
Yeah,
good.
but
so good.
yeah.
Oh.
yeah. She did it. She sang. We're not supposed to sing. Everyone's going to compare. No,
we're
it's
not.
okay.
Anyway.
I never claimed to be a singer. But,
We did it. I mentioned Fox and the Hound.
Yeah. Well, as you can tell, because now we're all depressed. No, I'm just kidding. Things are winding down here at the Anselm Society Digital Pub. The fire is down to embers. The customers are trundling home. And you've polished off your final glass. So sad. You polished off your final glass. Once again, Believe to See is a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. If you have a minute, we would love for you to rate and review the show on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you next time.